You have it, friends. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Toolbox Tuesday. Of course, that song from 1986 from the album Slippery When Wet. That was Bon Jovi with Wanted Dead or Alive. And you're probably sitting there going, come on, Scott, man, where's the heavy metal? Where's the AC/DC? Where's the Kiss? Where's the Motley Crue? Well, we kicked it off with a little bit of a kind of a country rock song today just because this is the week that we are here in Scottsdale, Arizona, and we're having a great time over here at Wausau. So I figured, what the heck, we're all kind of being cowboys while we're out here. So I figured, what the heck, we'll kick it off with a little bit of Bon Jovi, Wanted Dead or Alive. Hopefully, you guys are having a great day. We're looking forward to kicking off to today's session. But before we get things kicked off, just a little bit of housekeeping like we always do. First and foremost, Toolbox Tuesday. We realize that some of you like to use some of those AI note takers, and that's totally cool. So if you are utilizing one, by all means, go ahead, launch it. We realize that some folks prefer to look at content when it's right in front of them versus watching a video. So if you got an AI note taker, go ahead and go for it. You can utilize that today. As always, we are recording today's session. We're going to post it on our YouTube channel a little bit later on. But you know who's responsible for those videos? I couldn't do Toolbox Tuesday without my producer. Ladies and gentlemen, give a little bit of love to producer Hind from our marketing department. Hind, good morning to you, my friend.
Good morning. It's Wassa
Good.
week, everyone.
It is Wausau week, and man, oh man, today is the official kickoff of Wausau. Last night we
Mhm.
all got together and we hung out. We had a little bit of a country get together last night. I don't know how to describe it, but good Lord, it was fun. Um, but Hind, thank you so much for joining today, and I know that you'll get the YouTube video posted out a little bit later on. Friends,
Yes.
usually those videos make it to our YouTube channel within about 24 to 48 hours. So as always, be a little bit patient. And I'm sorry, I'm working off of one screen today. Normally, when I'm doing this from my home studio, and I got screens all over the place. And today, I'm sitting here in a hotel room going, "Gosh, I hope I can pull this off." I think I can. But, anyways, let's talk about what's coming up for the rest of September. If you got nothing going on next week on Tuesday, September 16th, 1 o'clock Eastern Time, make sure you join us for Coffee with Closers. That's where our CEO, Justin Volrath, gives you the State of the Union, talks to you about what's happening in the industry, some updates on what's happening here at Pay Compass, and it's an opportunity for you to come off mute, get your questions, concerns, your wins, anything you want to share. Make sure you join that call. And then we got two more Toolbox Tuesdays coming up in the month of September. Coming up on September 23rd, woo-wee, you guys are going to have a brand new tool in your toolbox with a brand new POS system called Order Counter POS. If you're not familiar with it, built for hospitality, built for retail, it's a hybrid solution. We're super excited about it. A lot of you have asked us to, start building a relationship with them, have a partnership with them, and look at that. We finally brought it to fruition. And then coming up at the end of the month, on Tuesday, September 30th, we got another brand new product for you, and this one has exclusivity to Pay Compass. No other ISO has a partnership with this company called Cloud Auto. Now, if you're not familiar with it, Cloud Auto gives those auto mechanics an opportunity to generate invoices and order parts and communicate directly with their customers. And here's the best part, they are fully integrated with PayCompass Merchant Services. No other ISO works with them, so look at that. You guys have got a fantastic September coming up. By all means, if you do not see any of those invites on your calendar, reach out. I want to make sure I see you on those calls. Easiest email address to use is sales@paycompass.com. Send us an email. We'll send you an invite. Now, let's kick off today's session. So, you know what? Every time we do Toolbox Tuesday, we give you pretty much product. We give you new point of sale systems and virtual terminals and payment devices and payroll. But today we're going to put a brand new tool in your toolbox. That's a little bit different from the norm. Today we're going to put the tool going in your toolbox today is knowledge. And what we're going to do is we're going to help you with the post-approval process. And ladies and gentlemen, there's no way in heck that I could do this webinar if I didn't have two of the best people on our deployment and product implementation team. I love these guys. Ladies and gentlemen, let's introduce my two guest panelists. First, I'm going to introduce Michael Hip. Michael, good morning to you, sir.
Good morning, Scott. Thank you for having me, sir. How are you doing today?
I am doing absolutely fantastic. I was super happy to see you last night at Wausau, my man. And my second guest panelist, Mr. Jathan Bennett. Jathan, where are you, my man? Let's hear your voice.
you doing, sir? Happy to be here for sure.
There he is. Ladies and gentlemen, okay, this you want to know how much this means to me? These two gentlemen came on camera today. Like this does my heart so much good. Guys, it's fantastic to see you. Thank you for joining us today. So guys, let's jump right in. We know your names. Michael Hipp, Jathan Bennett. Everybody has familiarity with who you are. Okay, we recognize the names, and some of our sales agents have worked with you historically, but what they may not know is what you guys do on a day-to-day basis to help our sales agents to be successful. So, guys, I don't care which one of you goes first, kind of give that overview. What is it that you do on a day-to-day basis that helps our sales agents to be successful? I don't care which one of you goes first, but go ahead and just share, please.
Yeah, so I guess I'll kick it off. Basically, mine and Jathan's role. I'm assistant director of support. Jathan is a director of support. Our main job on the support team is essentially making support as efficiently as possible and also ensuring the agents get what they need. That includes training, support, providing that source of knowledge for the support team and the agents. They, I know a lot of these people that are in here probably dealt with like risk reviews, stuff like that. So we're definitely on that end as well. So that's kind of what I see Stefan in there. Um, that's kind of like what our main role is.
For those of you that may be driving and didn't catch it on the screen, the moment that Michael said risk, there was like this floating thumb that went across the screen. Like, I don't know which one of you did it, but I'm going to talk to you later on. Jathan, let's hear from you, man. Let's talk about what you do on a day-to-day basis, my friend.
So, from the support perspective, our main goal is taking all the efforts done with the agents working with sales to get accounts approved, taking all those efforts, translating them into an actual deployment, making sure that that's handled as efficiently as possible, and really just trying to set both the agent up for success, the merchant up for success, and then continue handling that ongoing support. Really, our job is to take all of the relationship building that an agent's doing, all the relationship building that the sales team is doing with the agents, and capitalize on that to make sure they have the best experience moving forward for as long as they want to continue processing with PayCompass.
I say there's definitely a lot of love for the two of you because if in all the months that I have been hosting Toolbox Tuesday, this is the most amount of emojis that I've seen floating across the screen. So you guys have got to be rock stars. And honestly, I'm grateful that you guys got to join us here today. So a couple of other things that just kind of tie into your role. And what the reason I want to bring this up for everybody on this call, you guys have got to understand that these guys are truly the heroes working behind the scenes. So they're being a little bit humble right now as far as some of the day-to-day operations. But let me just give you like a couple quick bullets as far as what these two guys and their teams do for you every single what they do for you guys every single day. So for the most part, terminal troubleshooting, maintenance, merchant account management. So for all those times where you want to make some changes to some of your merchant accounts, well, guess what? These guys are doing the heavy lift on the back end with that, and that's where they do assist. And for the most part, these guys are managing multiple portals and they're assisting through various moving parts through the post-approval process. So let's jump into this post-approval process. And before we kick it off, one thing I do want to make sure that I point out to you, sales agent, this session that we're doing today, I didn't come up with this session by myself. Okay. This session was actually a recommendation based upon a conversation with that I had with one of our sales agents. Matter of fact, I'll even give him a little bit of love on this call, Evan Comer. Evan and I had a conversation one time, and I was like, "What do you guys want to see for Toolbox Tuesday?" And Evan said, "You know what? You guys do a lot of product, but I would love to see some of that tribal knowledge. What are some of the things that we should know with the post-approval process?" We sat down, we created this session for you guys today. So look at that, you, the sales agent. If at any point in time you think of a topic that you want to see on Toolbox Tuesday, send an email over to sales@paycompass.com, and who knows, that idea that you come up with could come to fruition and it could wind up becoming a Toolbox Tuesday. As always, keep in mind too, we want your questions today. This is quite possibly one of the most important sessions because we realize there are a lot of questions post-approval. And sometimes what we need to do is kind of slow down a little bit and explain some of those processes, procedures, and some of the common missteps that may happen post-approval So make sure that you get your questions out there today. We are going to break here at the bottom of the hour, and towards the very end, we're going to do another Q&A. But you can put your questions into the chat, or if you would like, when we break, come off mute, get your question out to our two guest panelists. Guys, let's kick it off. All right, so we've got two different platforms that we're utilizing. We're utilizing Synovus and we're utilizing Evolve. So right out of the gate, what's the difference between the two, and what should our agents know about the post-approval process with Synovus and Evolve? Either one of you, go ahead and take it away.
Yeah, so the difference between Evolve and Synovus, obviously they're the different sponsor banks there. They have different operational funding, stuff like that. They kind of interact separately from each other. Evolve has a NDF cutoff time of 11 p.m. EST. However, we also have a funding time to also move them to 9 p.m. And then in certain cases, we've seen accounts essentially get same day funding, but that's on very rare occasions, and we need to get like special access to put them on something like that. Synovus, we have. Um, also wanted to say thesis or Evolve is only on the thesis processing. So if you wanted a board with First Data, you would have to go with Synovus. Um, Speaking of Synovus, they have TSIS and then also First Data North and First Data Omaha. There's different operational cutoff times there. TSIS, Synovus, you're going to look at 9 p.m. Eastern, Monday through Saturday, to be able to receive next day funding. And then Sunday, you're looking at 6 p.m. Eastern to be able to get next day funding for Monday. Then you have your First Data North platform. You have a cutoff time of 2 p.m. Eastern, or sorry, 2 a.m. Eastern. That's where we're going to board a lot of uh, stuff that for restaurants and stuff that may be closed a little later. We want to go ahead and put them on that uh, First Data North Synovus there. First Data Omaha, it has a cutoff time of 6 p.m. I believe 6 p.m. Eastern. If they're doing debit transactions, um, if they're not doing debit transactions, so not PIN debit, you're going to be looking at 7 p.m. Eastern. But that's kind of like the main difference. They all have different cutoff times, different sponsor banks, but that's what I have there. When it comes to like an operational standpoint or like a post process, whenever we're going through that post process, uh, basically we'll get an email from sales saying your account is ready, essentially, and then anything that you put on the MPA, uh, whether it be what the pricing is, stuff like that, that'll reflect on the merchant account. So we're going to be able to see pricing, if it was approved for NDF, um, equipment notes. So I believe there's a note section whenever you're submitting those MPAs. We're going to be able to see all of that. And then we send an email to the agent, just confirming those details, equipment details, deployment notes, anything that you guys need regarding that. We're going to go ahead and put it in that email. And we're just, we need a response from the agent to be able to move forward with that deployment.
That is
I'll jump in
definitely a
and say
key step. Go ahead, Jathan. Go
real
ahead.
quick with the differences between the sponsor banks. I'd also recommend if you're looking to board WEX Fleet, we try to steer you towards First Data North. That process is a lot simpler on that platform than First Data Omaha. But essentially, Michael hit the nail on the head. The only other NDF cutoff kind of difference there with Synovus is on the TSIS side. Sundays have a unique cutoff of 6 p.m. Eastern, just to make everybody aware there. Otherwise, it is the 9 p.m. Eastern, Monday through Saturday.
Could you say that again one more time, just so that we can make sure that we emphasize that? Which one is it that does 6 p.m. Eastern, and then there's the option for 9 p.m. Eastern? One more time, please.
That'll be TSIS Synovus specifically has an NDF cutoff of Sunday, or sorry, on Sunday at 6 p.m. Eastern to receive funds that following Monday.
Got it. Um, One of the things that sticks out to me with Pay Compass, sales agent, you know what I'm talking about. You and I, we've worked at those other ISOs, and you really didn't have all those options as far as cutoff times go. So much the same way that Pay Compass gives you a lot of technology to present from a vast array of terminals, a vast array of virtual terminals, different POS offerings. This is huge as far as having these different options with the different cutoff times. So one of the examples that I just kind of pulled up here on my screen, just taking a peek at it, common scenario. So Synovus in and itself may be a great option for like a retail business that pretty much closes at 9 p.m. Eastern, not that big of a deal. But at least all of you do have other options to kind of shop your deal to a different location based upon what the requirements of the business. When are they going to be shutting down? So as an example, Evolve could be a better option for businesses that stay open later, such as a quick service restaurant or anything that is related to hospitality. And as always, all of those cutoff times are available in Navigo. When you start a brand new application, there is a box right at the very top that says view the cutoff times. If nothing else, that'll help you to make a good decision as far as where you're going to shop your deal over to. So tell you what, guys, let's keep the conversation going here a little bit. Let's talk about gateways as far as what's available. There's a little bit of a difference as far as the gateways go. So, as an example, if I take a look over here, with Synovus, and correct me if I'm wrong on this, guys, because I want to make sure that we have a lot of clarity put out here. With Synovus, every single merchant is going to have access to MX Merchant, correct? And if the answer is yes, some of those other platforms don't offer that kind of a gateway. Correct me if I'm wrong, guys.
Yeah, so Synovus, we have our own little platform there called MX Connect, but also MX Merchant. MX Connect is kind of the portal that kind of faces us and also the agents. I know a lot of agents have access to it. It's a good way to get reporting, stuff like that. When it comes to MX Merchant, there is a free option for a gateway solution there. Um, Basically, there's a pay functionality. It's provided to the merchant for free. They do have the ability to do MX Advantage, which is going to be compliant surcharging. But that's kind of like your only fee option there to pass on to the customers. But if you wanted to go ahead and do like surcharging or um, traditional pricing, MX Merchant could be a good solution there. When it comes to Evolve, we don't necessarily have a gateway provided automatically there, but they also have great reporting for the merchants. And one of the key things about the Evolve portal is they can actually dispute uh, chargebacks, stuff like that directly through their portal there.
To Evolve, they can do the chargebacks.
Correct. Yes.
Okay.
I would
Um,
mention too, the MX Merchant Gateway does have the capabilities for a low monthly cost to provide invoicing, recurring billing. It's a fully fledged gateway in that aspect. It's really easy also to have ISVs integrated directly to the gateway through API configurations, building out that technology side of things. And we've handled a lot of those ISV integrations through the MX Merchant Gateway. The one of the benefits of that gateway as well is they have a mobile app called MX Express, which can save a merchant in a lot of negative experiences if their device is down in the middle of a day, they can at least pull out their phone and process cards. We'd be able to do the same thing with Evolve, but it would require obviously installing a different gateway such as Swipe Simple or one of the other technologies that we provide. So it's for the Synovus side, MX Merchant just really helps as a backup as having that option available if they absolutely need it.
so let me throw this question out there to you. So from an agent's perspective, when giving consideration to where to board their deal, so we're talking about Synovus, Portal, Gateway, Access, everything else. Evolve, not so much, but they do have the reporting capabilities. What would you guys say agents should take into consideration specifically with this, whether it comes with a gateway or not? What are your thoughts on that, guys? We'll
You
get it
take that,
first.
Michael?
Sorry, I think we have a question in the chat. Sorry about that. I
Oh,
was
go ahead. No.
preoccupied. So MX Merchant, Stephen Sujet asked MX Merchant can do cash discounting, dual pricing, right? So they do have a option for MX Advantage, and then you have several different line items there. One of them is we can name it essentially cash discounting, but the main purpose of like MX Advantage is to be able to do compliance surcharging. I believe on the gateway side, if we're doing invoicing stuff like that, we can pass on like a convenience fee.
And I want to say kudos to you for keeping an eye on the chat. You know, once again, your favorite heavy metal host is working off of a laptop and he can't see everything as far as the chat goes. So let me throw it out there to you guys because obviously you got better visibility than I do. Michael and Jathan, are you seeing more questions in the chat that you guys would love to get addressed right now?
I think that was the only one. Yeah, sorry about that. I was preoccupied
No,
there.
what? Yeah. Oh, boo-hoo. Yeah, Michael's taking care of our agents. Wow, what a brute. No, dude, I appreciate that. Thank you. So, and these are the questions that we do want from you guys. We want to have an understanding of what are your challenges with the post-approval process? What can we do today, now that we got our guest panelists on this call, that will help you to be more successful moving forward? Keep those questions coming in the chat. Matter of fact, you know what? Why don't we just pause right now? Audience, I'm going to throw it over to you. If you want to come off mute, you got your guest panelists right here. You got Jathan and Michael. Let's see if anybody has any questions. Love to get them answered right now. Come off mute.
Hey, Scott.
Yes.
Hey,
Hey, sir. Good to see you.
good to see you too. Hey, Michael, that was me that fat
Yes, sir.
fingered that thumb.
All good.
My bad.
No, you're good. You're good.
Scott, I just have to say this. These two dudes are freaking amazing. They rock. And I'm
They
not
do.
trying to blow the, win in their sales, but the fact of the matter is they do it every day in the work they do. And I've seen that, experienced that. My merchants have experienced that multiple times. So that's my 1.5 cents. And again, sorry about the fat thumb.
Oh,
Those things are too small.
they are. It's awful. But to your point, Stephen, I will give Michael and Jathan and the entire team that works with them all the credit in the world. Reason being, you guys know I joke around a lot, and I say, hey, some of those other ISOs that we used to work at, I mean, let's just call it right out. A lot of us went through a lot of painful experiences because they weren't quite as organized. They weren't quite as passionate as Jathan, Michael, and that entire team working together on your behalf. Pay Compass truly is an agent first experience, and thank you for sharing that love, Stephen. Do appreciate it. I see we have a hand us up. Oh my gosh, John Williams. Haven't talked to you in a million years. John, come off mute. What do you got, brother?
Hey, good afternoon. I would like to
Yes.
get their feedback on what they would say is their favorite terminal slash pin pad combo to work with. Which one seems to work the best? And which one do you struggle with the most?
Oh,
Yeah.
all right. Little twist on that. Both of you are going to answer that question. Whichever one of you wants to go first, go ahead.
You want
I
to
can
start,
jump in
Michael?
first here. Yeah. So I mean, in my experience, you can never go wrong with a Deja Vu Z8 Z6 combo. We don't see a lot of problems with that. Super easy to set up, super easy to use. Um, and then honorable mention, I would say a Valor VL100 and VL300 pin pad. One of the ones that we are kind of struggling with right now, I would say, is like the Deja Vu P1 to P17. P17 is a new kind of implementation from Deja Vu that they're still kind of working out some stuff there, but they're doing some strides there to improve that product, and it's still a solid choice there.
I'll piggyback off what Michael said. In my experience, I like the VL100 with the VL300 coupled with it. I personally try to stay away from the Deja Vu Z8, Z6 if I possibly can convince someone to use a Valor, just because personally I've dealt with issues that are that are not exactly easy to work through. And so some of those being certain cards prompting PIN, not accepting contact, things like that. We've ironed out those processes, but I just have a lot of pain from that I've dealt with in the past. I try to really steer people towards the Valor devices because it's essentially plug and play. We've installed them at very high-paced restaurants, counter service locations, convenience stores, and a lot of them are just once they get those Valors in there, they don't have an issue. But to Michael's credit, the Z8, the Z6 combos is probably our most popular deployment because they also are pretty well, um, I guess, easy to install and all that. It's just I kind of like to stay towards the Valors, in my opinion.
Albert, thank you.
And does
Go
the
ahead.
Z11, Z6, do those go together too? Kind of the same deal?
Correct.
So they do go together.
Cool. Thanks, guy.
Yeah, you're welcome, John. And got some commentary here. Z8, Z3 was painful for sure. Chad, thank you for sharing that. Look at that. Look at this. This is going to turn into one of those things where it's like, hey, are you Team Bennett or Team Hip? Let's get ready to rumble. No, I'm kidding. But guys, no, I mean, this is the kind of dialogue that I'm actually looking forward to today, is because, you guys do have the insight. You guys do these builds, the deployments every single day. So you do have a good understanding in regards to what will work best. And it's not to discredit one over the other. I mean, obviously it's going to be based upon the different experiences that the two of you have, but it's always good to have that kind of an insight. So tell you what, I'm going to throw it back out to the audience one more time. If you have any questions, great time just to come off mute. Let's make sure that we can get those addressed. Otherwise, got just a few more couple things that we just want to cover really quickly. But questions, let's bring them out. Come off mute.
Hey, I have a question. Hello,
Go ahead,
Scott.
Joyce. Hello.
Hey,
Good morning.
hello. Jason, Michael both, and I apologize if something has come out on this and I've missed it. But I recall it was quite a while ago where I had a situation where a client ended up not being on next day funding. Now I'm talking about with TISA Synovus. And I was really confused. If you remember the conversation, Jason, you helped me through it. And I was like, wait a minute, I thought that they were automatically put on next day funding. And for whatever reason, the underwriter in that situation decided to not put them on next day funding. And I only found out like a month or two later where, my client's like, why am I not getting my money the next day? So my question for you is this. I believe at the time, Jathan, you said, Joyce, when you put through your applications, you really should request NDF every time so that we can submit that and put that through. And I understand that that's on the submission end, but I'm asking you, Jathan, and Michael as well, is that something, do we need to make that request still, or is it automatic next day funding with Synovus?
So, Joyce, I appreciate you bringing up the question because it's important for everyone else on the call for sure. So
Yeah, thanks.
essentially, we kind of ironed out some additional processes with our underwriting teams where if we see an auto approval, like probably what happened in your instance, we're actually just proactively going through and saying, put this on NDF, request NDF here, just to say we don't want the situation to happen again that affected your merchant in that instance. So we've adjusted our processes to balance that out more so that the agent essentially doesn't have to worry about it. When we talked about your submission coming through requesting NDF, just since we have a lot of agents on the call here, I will say it is helpful when you guys are submitting your support notes or the install notes, even if you just include, NDF, it just kind of reminds us. But as I mentioned, we've adjusted our processes, so that's not really required or anything. Um, and I think that was once again an issue with TISA Synovus where we were getting auto approvals and the underwriting team wasn't necessarily then enabling NDF. And we were just kind of moving through those deployments at that time. I've adjusted those processes. So we'll formally request NDF on any account that we see come through. And then essentially, if it's not approved, at least we've tried to, set that up for you guys.
Okay, awesome. So we don't have to request it, but it's a nice little kind reminder for you guys
Correct. Yep. Just
if we
like
put it in.
saying, hey, I
Perfect.
want this auto close at 6 p.m. and then, comma, we need NDF,
NDF.
something like that.
Perfect.
It's just a reminder, but once again, we'll handle all of that on our end for sure.
Agent first. Thank you.
Thank you on that one, Joyce. And it looks like we may have another question that popped up into the chat. Let me take a peek over here. Uh, Albert, he's referring to Jathan and Michael as Batman and Robin. They are the best of the best. Thank you guys and the entire team for everything, all in capital letters, that you do for us. So look at that. You guys are getting so much love today, man. This does my heart good. And
Appreciate all the
Thank you for
kudos,
the,
man,
yeah, thank you for the
for
kind
sure.
words, Albert.
Yeah.
no, very much
Steve and
appreciated.
CJ jumping on the call just to say, he appreciates us. It's very appreciated for sure.
No, it means the world to me. And, I gotta say that ever since I joined Pay Compass, I've been very humbled through the various departments that I've had an opportunity to work side by side with. And to everybody's point, I mean, the two of you leading your teams into battle to help every single one of our agents. I mean, this has been nothing short of a top-notch experience working with not only the two of you, but your entire team in and itself. So I thought it was interesting, like Joyce's timing with her question, where she was talking about, should we put in NDF? And Jathan, I believe you said you don't have to, but it's not the worst thing in the world for our agents to provide as much context as possible, add, additional requests for these merchants, correct?
It's basically the whole thought process there is as much information as you guys can give us during those or in those install notes during the application process with sales, the more empowered we are to hit your mark appropriately and to essentially set you as the agent up for success with your downstream merchant. At the end of the day, we understand this relationship that you've established with your merchant is really based off of everything you've spoken about, you've promised them. So when you provide that context back to us, it allows us on the back end to really basically set you up for success and make sure that you're providing what you told your merchants. The last thing we want to do is be a roadblock or an issue with your relationships. So whatever context you can provide us in those install notes is really just going to help everybody involved in this process.
Let's see, we got more questions popping up into the chat. Let's just keep it going here.
Just to
And
piggyback
by the
on
way,
that, it's me, Albert Scott.
please,
I'm
Albert,
sorry.
go
I'm
ahead.
I'm very detailed when I put notes, and if I think that's something that's not going to make sense to them, I put on the notes. Please call me, and we can always get that situated. But it's important to put everything on the note.
Yeah,
No,
something as
definitely.
simple as that helps us out a lot. Just providing a note, if you need to provide more context over the phone, that definitely helps.
I tell you what, gentlemen, we're on a roll with these questions in the chat, so we might as well just keep it going. So I see another one that was added by Steven. Does anyone have much experience with ACH pricing? So what I'm going to do, Steven, I'm going to take that question. I'm going to throw it out to, I can throw it out to Michael and Jathan if they have some insight with ACH in general. But you know what, audience? I think this is a good opportunity for peer-to-peer knowledge. So if anybody wants to either comment on Steven's question as far as having experience with ACH pricing, go ahead and do so. You can just kind of reply back to him, or if you want to come off mute, let's share that knowledge and get it out there. So, Jathan and Michael, what are some of the things that you guys are seeing from your standpoint as far as ACH is concerned? Are there any missteps? Are there things that agents should know when submitting a new account that does tie into ACH? What are your thoughts, gentlemen?
So
So
that's kind of at least from like a PIA perspective and some of the other stuff. That's kind of like a uh, pre-approval kind of process. I know that ACH is kind of its own thing. They have their own underwriters, so they're going to be like more experienced on the pricing side. We do have a price sheet for the ACH stuff as well. So
yeah, and I was just gonna basically comment that as well. The one thing that a lot of people kind of get confused is they'll submit the normal application and then request ACH with it. And then we have to kind of double back and say, hey, this is technically a separate application with then either Paya or some of our other ACH providers. So it ends up kind of delaying the install because they weren't aware that they were going to have to work through that separate process. Um, and so I think the biggest thing that we want to make sure everyone's aware of is if you know you're going to be submitting an application for the credit processing and you know this business is going to be doing ACH as well, it's very important to let sales know that so that they can kind of tackle both of those applications at the same time.
Good point.
Yeah, and to that point, and let's just kind of put this out there so this way it is common knowledge for everybody. So, Jathan and Michael, if I understood the two of you correctly, it's one thing to submit an application for just straightforward merchant services, but if any of our agents are submitting an application that requires ACH, what I'm hearing is sometimes their deals get slowed down a little bit because the agent didn't have awareness that there is a second application for ACH.
Yeah, so we'll go
Right.
through like the full deployment conversation, and in that conversation they'll say, oh yeah, and add ACH to this, and we'll say, oh hey, if that's the case, let's loop you back in with sales. There's another application. Some of the some of the ACH providers, and I'm kind of referencing Paya in this, are a little bit slower on the actual application process. So if someone was trying to deploy a terminal, say overnight, that they also needed a gateway for ACH, we've had some issues where then that ACH, process takes a little bit longer, delays the deployment, and the agent just wasn't aware of those steps. So I think it's just important to remind everybody that the merchant services side and then the ACH side are, separate process. So we want to tackle both of those at the same time.
And no, and this is one of the reasons why I get excited when we do sessions like this, because I mean, for the most part, like I said, we do a lot of product Toolbox Tuesdays with terminals and POS systems. This is a good conversation, guys. I'm glad that you guys are sharing some of your travel knowledge with our audience so they can be successful. I'm seeing a couple more things that are popping up into the chat. John Williams, I saw that you put a comment in there. You would love to see an enhancement in Navigo that allows agents to add install notes post-application signing as well as pre-application signing. Love to add detailed notes, but hate making the merchant wait to sign to tend to get it hurried. If we've got anybody from the Navigo team that is on this call today, go ahead and copy paste that. Maybe that's something that we could get added into Navigo at a later time. I see that we do have another question that popped up into the chat. As a new rep, what platform would I write under for dual pricing at terminal level rather than physically adding an additional line fee on the receipt? Thoughts on that? Anybody?
So I will say like a lot of our like terminal deployments, they have some functionality or some way to essentially do dual pricing. Uh, and that would be like including a higher price for a card compared to whatever you would pay in cash. One terminal I'd probably recommend would be one of the Deja Vu P lines. You can't really go wrong with those. Do you have any suggestions, Jathan?
Would have recommended the same device. I like the Deja Vu P lines. I like the portal. I like the functionality at those devices. Valor's very similar to that, so you'd kind of get the same experience there. They're a really good device for dual pricing. And honestly, even the Deja Vu Z8s, Z11s, those older Z line devices also can do dual pricing without an issue. As far as the specific platform, we don't have a limitation at that level. So it's really more of let's put you on the right platform for your NDF, make sure the merchant's happy on that end, and then our device can take care of everything else from there. The only limitation we really have from a terminal slash platform perspective is the QD devices. Deja Vu QDs are not certified with First Data North currently. So in those instances, we would probably try to steer you over to a Deja Vu P line device. And as far as John, as far as your note there, I will say you can submit the application, and we do have a lot of agents that will just email support saying, "Hey, I've got this application, in the process. here's all of my notes. And we'll essentially take that. And once we get our new account approval from sales, we'll just kind of merge that note into our new account side. We'll double check with you anyways, but we don't want you delayed, sending out applications. So if it's easier to just do the application and then send us an email to support, we're happy to, take those notes the same way from there as well.
What I want to do, gentlemen, is I want to help all of our agents in regards to some of the uh, common oversights or things that agents didn't realize need to be a part of the process with post-approval. So let me do this. I'm going to fire this off very quickly. I'm going to give like very quick bullet points, and then I'm going to kick it over to the two of you, and we're going to talk about some of these common oversights that happen with our agents so they could be more empowered and understand what they need to do with some of these processes. So, post-approval process, and these are your words, gentlemen, it includes pricing verification, underwriting, parameter checks, and gateway configuration. Okay, so those are the four pieces with the post-approval process. However, there are some things that just kind of fall through the cracks because an agent may not have been aware this is part of the responsibility. The first one that pops up is over here. It says a common misstep for any agent is boarding accounts with card present pricing. As an example, they'll put it in 95%, but requesting a gateway for card not present transactions. What are we talking about here? How does this happen, and what do you see happen commonly in this scenario?
Yeah, so whenever we're talking about like underwriting parameters and an account basically being 95 swiped, 5% card not present, we're referring to the way that people are running cards. Let's say you want a gateway provided to you. You're essentially gonna want a either moto or a keyed sailed mid, so you'll have a higher percentage of keyed transactions, or you're gonna want a e-commerce gateway basically that'll integrate with your shopping cart. Um, the common misconceptions I would say are you need to make sure you're putting in the pricing for um, what you want to price it at. I see a lot of like accounts getting approved. We're sending the new account approval through. They ask for 3.5% on the merchant account. However, the merchant account is essentially priced at like 3.38. um, Stuff like that. Just stuff that the customer facing fee and then the merchant facing fee are two different things. Merchant facing fee typically smaller than what you would charge the customer. Um, and that's kind of the stuff that we're looking at per se.
Sorry, Michael, I was chatting to Chad in the chat there. Did you mention the kind of risk implications of the 95% card present versus 5% keyed?
Yeah, so the risk I guess like the complications there essentially, um, you're basically going to be running keyed sales on a card present mid. It'll quickly get flagged from risk, basically saying this is not what you were written for, and now we have to go through a process of going through risk, communicating with the merchant, communicating with you to try to clear things up and possibly changing underwriting parameters from there. It's important that we kind of pay attention of like what we need to um, board the account with when it comes to 95 or just like underwriting parameters in general between card present and keyed, and also what kind of deployment you're going to ask for. Like you're not going to ask for a Deja Vu Z8 terminal for a mid that was essentially boarded for 100% keyed transactions. That we won't really typically see that. I think you can do that and just mainly type in the stuff on the Deja Vu Z8, but we're more looking at like a gateway provided deployment there. Same thing goes for the opposite. If you're basically asking for a gateway, you don't want a mid that's boarded with 95 card present and 5% keyed. That'll quickly get flagged.
And I think the reason why we care so much about this is because we've had a lot of instances where an agent is wanting to get an application submitted, approved, and they're essentially submitting the wrong information of what the account's actually going to do. Whether they knew that or not, they may have talked to the merchant. The merchant says, "Oh yeah, I do X amount of monthly volume. I'm going to be processing all my cards through a we'll say a Bluetooth card reader, maybe swipe simple. And then, 15 days down the road, 30 days down the road, we have 100% key transactions, way more monthly volume than what they're expecting. And it ends up causing a risk review that then affects the merchant. So the merchant's funds may be held, or at least the investigation may be a little bit more intrusive than what the merchant's willing to deal with. And our hopes is that by illuminating some of this stuff in this call, the agent will have the ability to submit the correct application info so that it essentially keeps their relationship with their merchant intact. The last thing we want is a merchant to trust an agent and then find out 30 days later that they're not receiving funds now, something wasn't submitted properly, they have to submit a lot more documentation, bank statements, etc. It just kind of sours the relationship a little bit. So the more due diligence you do before you submit that application, the better off you are supporting that merchant moving forward.
What you're saying, Jathan, is just make sure that all of our agents have that full understanding of how this merchant does get paid and what the percentages are so that they can choose the correct platform, correct?
Yeah, essentially, and it's not even necessarily a platform perspective, but just more that the application reflects what this merchant's actually going to be doing.
Thank you. All right. Gentlemen, one of the things that the two of you were very passionate about when we were putting this session together, uh, just because I threw the question out there to the two of you, I said, one of the things that I really want to make sure that we address during this Toolbox Tuesday are some of those common missteps, oversights. So here's another one that you guys had shared with me, and I want you to kind of expand upon it. One of the most common missteps through the process is that the agent doesn't realize that they have to confirm before proceeding with the deployment. As an example, a common issue where agents don't realize that a response is required. I'm assuming that's a response to an email, but talk that through. What typically happens? You guys see it all the time. What is it that agents need to know with this part of the process?
Yeah, so basically we're gonna get like a new account notice whenever anything is gone through the approval process. That's gonna detail everything that they need there. And then from there, we format the email, send the email with like equipment notes, deployment notes, any pricing that you need on your terminals or anything like that. And what we really need is essentially a reply there in order to get the deployment going. Uh, and then once we get a reply from the agent, we'll go ahead and uh, deploy it as quickly as possible. If you need overnight, just request it and we'll get that going.
Oh, for the benefit of those who may be driving while listening to today's session, here's a question that was put into the chat. It says, are we as sales agents notified as soon as funds are being held? To which Jathan jumped right in, put a response in that says, yes, we will notify you, the agent, once we see funds are being held, and will provide information on the next step to resolve those risk inquiries. Um, so let's just kind of keep this momentum going as far as things that our agents should know with best practices. The other piece that I wanted to talk about is what should the agents be aware of when it comes to switching or making bank change on behalf of the merchant? Because you guys said that there's kind of like a little bit of a common hiccup that happens in this process. Guys, what is it that our entire audience should know when it comes to a bank change?
I think the biggest
Yeah,
piece
so
is the supporting documents that are submitted have to kind of fall in line with what we accept. And that's essentially a voided check, not a starter check. Um, Either bank statements that list the full account number. We don't typically ask for bank statements like that to complete a bank change. We're usually getting a bank letter or a voided check. The bank letters can be more difficult to acquire in the sense that they have to have a lot of information to validate that bank letter, and our account maintenance teams sometimes push back on those because they're kind of easy to replicate, they're kind of easy to forge, and so they scrutinize those a little bit more. The voided check is by far the most tried and true form of documentation to get a bank change completed. And essentially that's kind of what we run into is the agent will tell the merchant, hey, you need to go get a bank letter. They'll go to their bank. The bank will give them a direct deposit form, which is not an accepted documentation. And then we kind of just have this back and forth of, no, you need to go get this. No, that's not going to work. And so really it's just when you're looking at the bank change forms that we send, they'll list right there in the form what the accepted documents would be. And so we kind of just try to highlight that as much as possible. This is exactly what we need in this scenario. And like I said, the voided check is by far the easiest to kind of get pushed through. I will mention the voided check has to have the DBA name and matching DBA address or legal name and legal address. So we run into that a lot too. Someone will submit a voided check with a different DBA name, a different address. And what's kind of nice in those examples, at least, is we'll then follow back up with the agent and say, hey, this address looks different. Would you like to update the account to this address? We can use that voided check as the supporting document to change the address, we'll say, and then we can, once that address has been updated on our backend systems, then we can submit that same voided check for the bank change to our account maintenance team. So there's a little bit of things we can work through, but I would definitely highlight that the easiest document to submit and get approved would be a voided check.
And
Yeah.
one of the things that I want to point out to the audience very quickly is, well, once again, putting together this session with these two gentlemen, they did show me what the form looks like. And, unfortunately, in the interest of time, I'm not going to pull the forms up, but the forms are available and they do list what the requirement is from you, the sales agent. So you make sure that you're submitting the right thing. Michael, I heard you come off mute. What do you got, my man?
Yeah, I was just about to kind of piggyback off of what Jathan said. There's like specific requirements on the bank change form. When it comes to voided checks, it needs to be a true voided check. So the DBA address on there, DBA name on there, routing number, account number at the bottom, and then you have typically a serialized number that's like greater than it's typically a bigger number there. When it comes to like temporary or starter checks, you'll have like 001 or 002. That's some of the stuff that we kind of want to avoid submitting to the maintenance team there to get bank changes done. So we just got to make sure it's a for sure voided check there.
For the most part, and I think I'm correct in saying this, if the business does change banks and if they do have starter checks, in lieu of an actual starter check, bank letter is acceptable though, correct?
That's correct. Yeah. And then on that bank change form, there is specific, it details what you need on that bank change form. We just need to hit all of those bullet points to be able to give it to our maintenance team to change that bank.
I will say we're making efforts on the Navigo side to allow bank change submissions to flow through Navigo to come straight into our side so that you're not just needing to submit, a support email saying, hey, I need to change this bank. And then we have to give you the form and then you got to go get that dealt with. We are making efforts within Navigo, not quite sure on the actual like go live date or anything like that, but I know in the future agents will be able to go to Navigo kind of similar to how they're submitting applications and they'll be able to submit a bank change request, get all of that signed through DocuSign right there through Navigo. They can upload their voided check all right there. That'll be streamlined, come straight to our side, and we'll manage it from there without needing kind of the back and forth of working through email tickets kind of thing.
And gentlemen, we are coming up at the top of the hour, but there is one more piece that I want to make sure that we do hit upon. So let's hit upon this one last question. We're going to throw it back to the audience so they can get their final questions in there. And then after that, we're going to call it a day. So guys, another piece that you wanted to hit upon is the PCI compliance process, because it is different between Synovus and Evolve. Gentlemen, what kind of knowledge do you want to share as far as the PCI compliance goes with those two platforms?
Yeah, PCI compliance is different between the two sponsor banks there. We have 123 PCI on the Vol side, and then we have Sysnet on the other side. So Novus, when it comes to trying to get PCI compliant on there, there's a 90-day requirement to be PCI compliant to kind of avoid any statement fees for being PCI not compliant there. In order to be PCI compliant with Synovus, you have to log into the MX Merchant Gateway. There's a Sysnet or PCI compliance app on there. You just hit activate, it redirects you to another page, and then you register your merchant account with that platform and then begin the questionnaire. And after the questionnaire, there's a typically a PCI scan. When it comes to 123 PCI, that is automatically sent over to the merchants within 30 days of merchant approval. So all that process is manual or automatic.
Bring that, Michael. All right, agents, take a look at your watch. Look at what time it is. We're at the top of the hour, but we're not done yet because I'm sure somebody has questions, or maybe several of you have questions. This is your opportunity. You can either type it into the chat or you can just come right off mute. Let's wrap it up with a bang while you've got your two guest panelists on the call. So come off mute. What do you have for questions? Look at that,
Hey, no
guys.
questions for me. Just thank the team for their excellent work.
Thank you,
Continue
Yes,
Stephen.
to do
sir.
what we do about
Appreciate
them.
the kind words, man.
No, thank you.
Questions, comments, compliments for our two guest panelists? Come off mute. We'd love to hear your voice.
So I believe somebody answered a question in the chat. If a terminal is P2P, do they still need to go through the scan? So the PCI compliance part is essentially a scan of your network, right? So it's looking at those ports that are commonly used to kind of breach networks and kind of get into your network and cause harm. That's what that scan is typically used for. It's basically just scanning your public IP address, making sure everything is good to go there. So you will have to do a scan there.
Yeah, I
Michael?
would say the on the PCI side, the scan requirements are kind of based off of the questionnaire that you're answering when you're talking about what device is being used. And so with the P2P side, we typically still see scans being required there, but it really just depends on the questionnaire and getting more, in detail with what the merchant's actually doing, how they're processing transactions.
And I will just like harp on they have a great team that you could go ahead and call um, for any questions on PCI compliance or anything like that on the Sysnet side. Once you log into that third party website, um, there is like a call button there that the merchants can utilize to be able to walk them through the questionnaire, through the scan, stuff like that. So if you have any questions regarding that, they're kind of like the experts on the PCI compliance.
Yeah, I was going to jump in on that too, guys. Like if it's a Clover device that's got P2P encryption, when you go through selecting that device, if you select the right hardware, it will not require you to do scans. You can just do the yearly questionnaire. It just depends on the device.
Yeah. So we have like gateways, stuff like that, that don't necessarily require a scan, but unless you do um, that questionnaire will kind of dictate whether or not you do a PCI scan or not.
Once, going twice. Do we have any final questions before we break? All right. As always, audience, I love seeing you on Coffee with Closers. I love seeing you on Toolbox Tuesdays. We couldn't do these sessions if it weren't for you. Thank you so much for joining. And keep in mind, if there's topics that you want us to cover during Toolbox Tuesday, shoot over an email, sales@paycompass.com. More than happy to take them into consideration. And who knows, a recommendation that you make could become a Toolbox Tuesday in the future. But before we wrap, ladies and gentlemen, let's give some love to Jathan Bennett and Michael Hip. Gentlemen, I appreciate the fact that you made time to create this session with us today. Loved seeing you on the call. Everybody, give them some love, please. Gentlemen, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Scott. Have a good one,
Happy
sir.
New Year.
Thank you for having
All
us.
right. Thank you for joining. And agents, we will see you again next week. Coffee with Closers, 1 p.m. Eastern on Tuesday. As always, if you need anything, just reach out to us. We're always here to help because we do make sure that we put the agent first. And until we meet again, I will see you all next week on Tuesday. Coffee with Closers, 1 p.m. Eastern. Take care, everybody.
Bye, guys.
Bye.